Okay, apparently something happened with the audio inputs and it changed things. So we're here with our weekly Ask Tim stream, and I do have some updates for you. Some of them are pretty cool and involve our Discord server. So we took advantage of the new Discord features. They actually have what they call their forum. It's basically like, think of posts in these forums as like your own individual channel. So we have different sections set up so people can have information on questions they're asking. Hang on one second. Yeah, the puppy doesn't know how to be quiet, so he's going in his crate. But anyways, so yeah, so we have different sections here. We got our general help, firmware help for any firmware related questions. And if you notice, this is really nice. You can actually sort by tag. So if you're looking for different topics, you can just go ahead and click this and it filters. We also have a resolve tag. So if you guys ask a question and you get an answer, make sure to add the resolve tag to your question. And this serves as a nice way for people to go back and see if their question has already been answered. So instead of having just one giant channel where, instead of having one giant channel where it's just all kind of mushed together, you basically have your own little private, what's it called? You have your own like little private post that everybody can, comment on and just get support on. So, I'm really looking forward to this instead of having one giant channel where everybody's like chatting over and over again, and things are getting confused and there's like multiple threads going at the same time. It should happen, it should help keep things more organized and again historical. So like if let's say I like, oh, I know there's a post about this, I can literally right click on the post, I can hit copy link and then paste that into a chat. So like just for testing here, I can paste this in here, and then if somebody clicks this link, it'll actually take you right to that thread directly, which is really nice. So the problem with Discord that I really didn't like and a lot of other people didn't like is the fact that there's a lot of information getting put into these Discord servers and these channels, but there's no good way to organize it and the search function doesn't always work. So now all these discussions are in their own separate, channel. If you think about these as like their own little channel, because that's basically what they are. They function just like a channel, except users can create their own channel, so to speak. So we've got one for firmware, we've got one for hardware, and the other one I want to talk about here is we have our projects and show off forum channel here. So if you are working on a project and you want to keep like a log of what you're doing and show everybody whatever project you're working on, or if you did a cool print or you did an upgrade, you can post it in here and we go through and we're going to be looking at this projects and show off channel every single week, and you might end up getting featured in our weekly maker newsletter. So we'll spotlight that project or print or whatever you have in here, and then it could get in our newsletter. So, and if we do, we'll put a link to that thread so people can go and, ask you questions or, be like, hey, that's a cool print or, nice build. So that kind of thing. So this is probably my favorite one right now that Apulo is working on. He's nicknamed Crotchety because he's a crotchety old man. But he's building a Commodore 64 from scratch, which is pretty cool. So that's one I'm keeping an eye on. If you guys want to follow a thread, you can actually click on one and then click follow, and then it'll show up when there's new posts on here, and it'll give you a notification. You can also unfollow it as well. So this is definitely a lot nicer than trying to sort through someone's discussion where it's like all fragmented and there's multiple discussions going on in that one channel. You basically get your own little private channel here to post in, and people are responding to it. It's really nice. And if there's any tags, we also have here in the general help section here, if there's any tags that you guys would like to see, let me just post in the tag request thread here, and I'll go ahead and add them if it makes sense. Now we do have limited options for tabs, or tags, I should say, not tabs, tags, T-A-G, in each of these, but we try to make them as thorough as possible. That's why we broke these up into different, forum channels. So for firmware and hardware, so you can tag different things. And again, once these start getting populated, people that are looking for help in the future, they can just sort by a tag and see all the posts that are related to said tag. So I thought it's pretty cool. But yeah, the one thing too I want to say, so if you got some cool prints or you got a project you want to show off, whatever you're posting here, there's a good chance it could show up in one of our weekly newsletters. So if you want to get featured, go ahead and post it in there, and also just share some cool stuff. So I got some other things that I'd like to post in here, and you know, it's nice because like if I'm working on a project, I can have my whole log of here, I printed the case, I designed this in Fusion, here's the soldering I did, and you know, here's the thing all done. You know, like Apulo here is doing with his 64 build. So this is definitely one I'm following. And the other thing too is you can also like upvote the post, so you can like click the little reaction there. You can also add custom reacts, so you can put multiple different ones on there. But by default, this one is a little hard on fire. So anyways, that's all about I have for new stuff. If you guys did see, we did have a little sale this weekend. I hope you guys took advantage of that. If you're on our email list, we sent out a discount code for Veterans Day. We are going to be having a Black Friday sale. We're going to be doing some deep discounts and stuff. And I'm really hoping we have a large order of some awesome filament coming in that I'm really excited about. But I don't know if it's going to make it here on time. We're waiting on, like, the manufacturer shipped them to us. We're waiting for them to get here. So we'll see. But we got some really cool filament coming in that I'm really excited for. Also, is the KVP stuff on sale right now? Okay. Yeah, if you guys are looking to get a good deal on some filament, we have the KVP filament on sale. If you guys are looking to check that out, that's another good brand. If you guys are familiar with coax, it prints just like coax's stuff. And we got those on sale right now, so if you guys want to check that out. Yeah, chat seems to be pretty quiet today. Why are you guys so quiet? You actually listening to me chatter on? But I have no questions in my question queue. This is a Q&A. You guys are supposed to ask me questions. If there's no questions, I have nothing to do here. There's no questions. This is so weird. I mean, if this ends up being a stream where nobody's asking me questions, maybe I'll wrap it up and fire up another stream with the Ender 7. I don't want to do the Ender 7 on the Ask Tim stream because it's not... That'd be weird. People will be like, wait, what's going on? But yeah, I still got to get that done. I've been working on our cars the last couple of weeks. So, but yeah, let's see. Oh, there's some questions. Thank you guys. Any consideration for a 15-watt easy bulb? No. That's not something I think would be a very high market item, and they're too big. The ones we have right now are 9 watts. Carlos Alonso's asking, do you think Marlin will support like Hydra or Trident 3-point tramming? I thought the newer version of Marlin does. Let's take a little deep dive into the Marlin code and see. And I'm looking here because this puts a column with the number of questions that's been asked. That was the 1400 question number 1488 since we started to use the bot, which is wild. That's a lot of questions. So let's jump over to the Marlin firmware site, and I don't know if they have that supported. It might be in one of the later releases, so I'm going to go here, and I'm going to be on bugfix 21x, and let's just take a look at the configuration. I know they have dual Z. I think it's like Z driver. Z2 or Z3. Okay, so they already have support here for multiple Z steppers. And you can also have multiple Z end stops as well. So you could definitely get your bed trammed out with multiple end stops and 3 motors. It looks like it supports up to 4 drivers. And this is Marlin 2.1 bug fix, so this is not like the official release. I'm looking at bug fix. That's usually where the newest bleeding edge features are. I don't know if it has support to like auto level out the bed. I could be wrong. I haven't looked at that feature because there's not really many printers. I think G26, like, could you do that with G26? Or is it 62 that I'm thinking of? What is the feature that I'm thinking of called? We use it on the Chiron. Why am I blanking out on here? Someone help me out. G90, is it G92? No. Why am I blanking here? G32? Oh my gosh. Is it? Marlin G code, G32. No, that's undocked sled. What is the one? G34, Z stepper auto alignment. Okay. Align multiple Z stepper motors using a bed probe by probing one position per stepper. So this sounds like it's per stepper. So this sounds like it supports it already. Now, I don't have a printer I can test this on, but the fact that we can have up to 4 Z motors, and the fact that, yeah, we have up to 4 Z motors, and then G34 says by probing one position per stepper, and it doesn't say 2, sounds like this would work correctly, just like on like RepRap. So that'd be interesting to try. I have no machines that I could actually try that on. That would be neat to play with. So, but I don't have any printers that could do that. So it looks like a combination of setting up multiple Z drivers, one for each motor, and then enabling the Z34 or the G34 command, which is the Z stepper auto align, which is in configuration H here. Add the G34 command to align multiple Z steppers using a bed probe. So you need a probe like a BL Touch or an Easy ABL. And then here, you can tell it, oh yeah, here, this definitely supports exactly what you're thinking about with the multiple motors. So this is already in here. Yeah, so define your XY positions for Z1, so your first motor, your second motor, and then third or fourth. So yes, it does support that. So you can define here your predefined array of locations, like so your X and Y position for the first one, X and Y position for the second, X and Y for the third. And I'm assuming if you had a fourth, you just put another comma here and add a fourth value to this array of these XY positions. So yeah, I would definitely say looking at this, it looks like it would do the trick. So because I know they had the 2-stepper auto alignment, I can imagine it probably isn't much more work to get it on the third and fourth. But yeah, they've been recently adding more and more motor support to Marlin. I think we're up to 9 axes, if I'm correct, if I remember reading the change logs. So, but yeah, they've been doing a lot of cool stuff, and I'm still working at the firmware update to do the what's it called? Still looking to do the firmware update, and I'm actively working on the code. We're almost to a point, I think, like, well, next week, I think, isn't next week Black Friday week? Yeah, so probably not that week, but the week after that, I should be in a point where we're going to start doing test compiles and actually flashing it on printers here to test out our new release, which is going to be a very big release since we're going from Marlin 2.0.9.3, which is what we're on now, to Marlin 2.1.1. And if 2.1.2 comes out in that time, I'll finish the update to 2.1.1, and then upgrade from 2.1.1 to 2.1.2, because there's a big jump going from 209.3 to 2.1.1. Scott with question number 1489. He says, any plugins that get SV06 in to check out? Right now, we're not buying any more printers until I finish the ones we have here. But if Sovo wanted to send us one, we would do a review on it. But if we're buying them, we're being very particular on them. I've seen a couple people ask about the 06, but I think it's the same people over and over again. I thought the 06, I looked at the 06 pictures and the 05 pictures. They look like decent machines, and Sovo in general does a pretty good job with their printers. Let's see. Kyle Fegley, do we carry 24-volt 60mm fans? We do. We do. We have them in the shop. If you just search 60mm space 24V, you'll get that. We only have one. We try to do it with our fans. We try to select the best fan so you guys are not having to go, well, this one's this price and this specs, and this one's that price and that specs. We just select, a good fan that will take care of the job that it's intended for. So like a 60mm fan would typically use for your power supply. So we carry 12 and 24-volt fans. And if you guys are replacing your power supply fan, which is fine, if the power supply is working and your fan died, you can absolutely replace the fan fairly easily. Open up the power supply with the power disconnected. I'm just going to say that because some people lack of that common knowledge, sadly. But with it disconnected, open the top of it and look at the back of the fan that's already in there, and they will usually have the label. On the label, they'll have the voltage printed, and like, for example, even the 24 volt Meanwell power supplies, they typically will have 12 volt fans in them still. So that's why we tell people, hey, open up your power supply before ordering a fan from us to make sure you're getting the correct voltage. So, Fax said, thoughts on input shaping, should it be added to Marlin? So Marlin is adding input shaping in the 2.1.2 release. When that comes out, I don't know, but it has been confirmed by Scott over there that it will be in there. It's already in bug fix if you want to play with it. And the nice thing about the input shaping for Marlin is there's no additional hardware required like Clipper. It literally runs all on your control board, and you run a couple tests, you change some parameters, you figure out what parameters work best for your printer. And that's it. There's no, you don't need to run Clipper and, spend 10 hours tuning your printer and, buying an overpriced Raspberry Pi board or fiddling with some other third-party board because you can't get Raspberry Pis. It's all done on your printer's processor, which is nice. So I think input shaping is cool. I'm really looking forward to playing with it on our new firmware release, because if it comes out and it's in the official release for 2.1.2, which is looking where it's going to be added in through, I'm definitely going to be playing with it. We're going to do some documentation and videos on it. So, Dude Blight said, we support the Focus Odin with firmware and easy ABL. I would need that printer. So I don't have that printer. But if somebody wanted to, send one to us and we'd send it back after we're done with it, I'd be fine with that. I'm looking it up right now. The Odin, hang on, I'm trying to find it here. The Nano, the Robin Nano 1.2, we already have, I think, 2 printers that run that, so I think we can definitely get our firmware on there, unless there's some weird stuff going on. God, their site is terrible. Do they only have 1 printer? Is it literally... I search for Focus Odin, and this is where it takes me to. And I guess the name is in here. But the name is in the URL, but not here. Is this the Odin? I'm not sure here. I haven't kept up with Fuku's. So, but yeah, if like I said, we're not planning on purchasing any other printers. This one isn't really one that I'd be really that gung-ho about. Right there, they're doing the same kind of thing Artillery did, which Artillery had a ton of issues with. These flat cables, I'm not a fan of these. They're not easy to repair. They are a big failure point on these machines. Yeah. I personally, like, if I was in the market for a printer, I would probably stay away from this. And this is the other thing. They're saying Marlin firmware open source. I'd be really curious to see if they'll actually give you the source code. Because if they give you the source code, you could definitely modify it to run our easy ABL on there. But yeah. So customized developed 32-bit motherboard. They're showing STM part number in here, but that's the other thing. Are they actually running an STM chip? Yeah, it's like, I'm not a big fan of the ribbon cable printers. Let's see. All right, so 3D Experience, opinion on the Ender 5 Plus with the Core X Y mod, any recommendations? So we've been playing with, and I think we just had a meeting yesterday. We're getting really close to coming out with the kits from Fabrico for the Mercury 1, along with like the EVA carriage. So like if you want something that comes complete, like all the printed parts, all the hardware and everything, we're looking into getting those on the site and selling them, as well as actually having complete documentation, because if you've ever looked at the Mercury 1 information, their directions are outdated and incomplete. So we're basically forking our own version of all that and keeping it updated, and make sure that when you buy the kit, you actually get the hardware that's required to assemble the kit, and as well get the correct files for the printed parts. But we will be selling the kits along with the printed parts. So if you don't want to print all these parts, we will have them available printed in ABS for the Mercury 1 kit, and we're finishing up the stuff for the EVA carriage, and we're only doing 1 hot end for the EVA carriage, and that's going to be the V6 style. So our tough hot ends, E3D V6, the Revo 6, the Dragonfly BMO, just to keep parts simple. So yeah, but But yeah, that was the problem. So like right now, if you go and buy one of these like Mercury One kits from Fabrico or any of these other companies, this is not digging on them. They're relying on the open source documentation from the project itself, and it's incomplete and it's outdated. So I'm not okay with selling our customers stuff that isn't fully qualified and documented by us, because we can at least then ensure that, hey, we've done all the documentation. Here's from start to finish how to do it. Instead of sending you down a rabbit hole of, having to join a Discord server to get help with this because it's an incomplete product, because that's what they're selling. Again, not to dig on them, that's just the nature of these projects, but I don't like selling stuff like that, because I think people expect more from us, and that we're not going to sell you something that's going to be, incomplete and require you to waste hours of time trying to figure out how the damn thing works. I want to have the documentation on our own website. It's been done by us. It's been qualified by us, written by us, and it's correct. So, but yeah, Core XY conversion kits are fun as long as you have the time. So the Grim says, thoughts on the Clipper rage? I think it's overblown. I think Clipper's overly complicated. That's my personal opinion. There's plenty of people that run it. If you run Clipper, I don't care. I don't think it's worth the trouble. The Sonic Pad from Creality, do not buy Creality Sonic Pad. They're violating the GPL license with that product. So if you buy that product, you're telling Creality, I'm okay with you stealing code from the community. I don't know if the speeder pad from FL Sun is doing the same thing, but these Chinese companies are doing what these Chinese companies are doing, which is stealing code from the community and not giving back source code. So if you purchase the Creality Sonic Pad, you're supporting them in violating the open source licenses by literally stealing code from the community. So do not buy the Creality Sonic Pad. It also has had many issues where it'll send heaters on. Nero did a video and people said, oh, it's just that one board and it's not Creality printers being hooked up, but then there's been other reports of the hot end spontaneously turning on when you first connect it to the board, and there's Clipper on it, which could ruin your hot end and worst case scenario possibly cause a fire. So yeah, don't support Creality by buying their Sonic Pad. If the speeder pad from FL Sun is basically the same thing and they're GPL, they're GPL compliant and compliant with any other licenses on the open source code they're using, then buy them. But the problem I have is if you buy these products that are infringing on these licenses and literally stealing code from the community, you're telling that company, I don't give a shit. Go ahead, steal from the community. I'm going to give you my money anyways. Carlos Alonso said, will the Feistek Cheetah V2 have the same auto heater the V1 had? Oh, dear God. I didn't even know that company was still trying to make boards. They are, I don't know how, but somehow that's the one company that somehow makes worse control boards than Big Tree Tech. Like their boards have been just garbage. Like if I had to choose between a Feistek board or a Big Tree Tech board, I would take the Big Tree Tech board. Because Feistek stuff is such garbage. Like if you think Big Tree Tech cost cuts and has terrible support, Feistek is even worse. So, like I've had some of the Feistek stuff, like their little MOSFET modules are fine. But anything that's more involved than a basic circuit, stay away from. I know they had issues with some of their LCDs too. 3D Experience, how does your paid service for Marlin work? I don't know if you mean like you need like tech support type stuff, or you're talking about the firmware. So really the firmware is really easy. So our firmware, if you guys notice, stuff for aftermarket boards like the 427 from Creality, the Big Tree Tech boards, those are all paid firmware. It's $5 for 6 months of access, and then you get all updates that come out within that 6 months. And then your download expires. If you want to get it again, you just pay $5 again. If you do want support when you purchase a firmware, you can add on the support option, which will give you 6 months of technical support on the firmware for $40. So 45 total for 6 months of support and the firmware. Also, if you purchase like a 427 board, a Creality 427 board from us, you automatically get the firmware as if you purchase it separately. It's automatically included in the price. So we did not change the price of the board. We're just doing that as a value add to our customers, because the reality is if people are purchasing the boards from other parties, it's not really fair to us that they're now coming to us to use a firmware when that vendor should be supporting their products. So that's why we started monetizing, and it's been really great. So it's actually been giving us additional revenue, especially when things are a little bit slower in these days, and also gives me more time to justify spending more time on firmware, doing updates, doing code adds, expediting bug fixes. Like we've had a couple, like one that comes to mind is we had a a bug report for the SKRV3 boards. There was some code change that Big Tree Tech made that was required on some newer versions of the board. I had that patched in less than 24 hours and update pushed out. So I guarantee you it will be faster and more thorough and have better running firmware than even the manufacturers of these products. So that's what you're paying. You're paying for our expertise and our time. And we literally buy the boards. So even though I will never use this in one of my printers, I have the hardware here to actually test on and put in a test machine. So I'm not just writing code and being like, this should work. I go, this will work because I have the hardware here to test. So, and I'm going to put that in my drawer here. But I don't know if I'm looking... if 3D Experience said anything about the paid service, but we also do have, so let's say you guys send us a ticket in, okay, and you don't have like technical support or it's outside of the scope, we do now have a per ticket escalation, so it's $25 for that ticket. If you're like wanting to ask a bunch of questions, about whatever upgrade you're working on, and it's not related, maybe you bought like the Creality Sprite extruder and they're not giving you any help because that's what Creality does. You want to get some help, we can escalate a ticket on a one-time fee. It's $25 and that lasts for the length of that ticket. And then we'll do our best to help you out. So we do have more paid options. So if you guys do need help with your printer, we have, as always, our, if you want to have like a consult, like where you can talk to me or Tor or Peter, either on the phone or over a remote support session, that's still our standard $50 an hour rate. And that's literally, it's like, think of it like a consulting fee. Like you have our ear and our attention. We can do screen share, remote access, that kind of stuff. And that's $50 an hour. But if you just want to get help over email, we do have a ticket escalation charge. It's a per incident charge of $25. So, and then again, if you buy our firmware and you think you might need technical support with it, we have that add-on for $40 on the firmware, and that lasts for the 6-month duration. So, yeah. Where are we at? So the next one is another one for 3D Experiments, and he said a decent workhorse printer for a print farm to get on Black Friday sales. I have an Ender 3 V2, Ender 5, and considering Ender 5 Plus, now you'll be selling the Core XY kits. I don't know what's going on sale for Black Friday. I actually don't look at all the sale stuff. So I am not sure. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like even though I'm like not buying new printers, like if Solwall put the SV05 or 06 on sale, I might bite if it's like under $200. Anything above that, I can't really justify it until I get the other 3 printers sitting here and my Ender 7 done. 3D Anything says, Ender 6, can I use the Easy Board? Also, I want to rewire to get rid of the breakout board. So you can use the Easy Board. The Easy Board will bolt up, and many people have done it, but we do not have an official firmware for it. But we do have for our Easy Board, the V1 and the V2s, we have what's called our DIY firmware, which you just plug in all your information and the firmware steps you through how to set it up and set the proper settings. And there is a Core XY and Core YX option in there. The Ender 6 typically uses the Core YX option in Marlin. But yes, you can do that, but that's not something we officially support. So if you purchase our Easy Board and you're putting Ender 6 and, you like need a ton of help rewiring everything, that's not something we cover because it's not an officially supported printer. But as long as you take your time, and like the thing with the Ender 6 is the end stops are sharing a common ground because of that damn breakout board. Basically the one on the end stops where you have, I think the X has 2, it's got the ground and the signal pin, and then I think the Y and the Z have just the signal pin. You just got to make sure you're connecting it correctly on the Easy Board, otherwise it won't trigger. So basically, if you plug it into the X end stop on the Easy, or the Y end stop on the Easy Board, it's that single pin, and you're not getting a change, you would just need to move that pin over to the other spot on the plug, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, and the Easy Board will run an Ender 6. I have honestly been waiting for my stock board to die because apparently I have decent luck with my stock Reality board, because my stock board is still running in there. My plan was when that died, I was going to do a stream of letting you guys watch me fumble through setting up the firmware and doing the wiring, but it has not died yet. So that's why I'm still running the stock board. But because of that breakout board, because of the weird wiring choices Creality made, that's why we're not officially supporting the Ender 6 with the easy board, because there's just too much room for error if people are not paying attention to how they're connecting things, because you've got ground lines that are shared, you've got positive connections that are shared. You know, I can convert it over, no problem, but you know, if you're very new, it's not a drop-in experience. So basically, when we put out a firmware for a printer for our boards, I want that board to be take the old one out, put the new one in, and flash the firmware. That is not an option with the Ender 6 because of the wiring. So hopefully that makes sense. Because like a lot of people, if we go, hey, it supports the Ender 6, but there's also like a footnote here, click this link, and these are all the wiring changes you got to do. Nobody's going to read that stuff most of the time. And then we're going to get angry emails from people saying, well, you told me it worked with this. And it's like, yes, it works, but you have to, it's more involved. You know, the goal with having a pre-set up printer in the firmware is ease of use. Like drop it in, unhook everything from your stock board, and plug it into the same spots on our board. And that's not what it's close with the Ender 6, but it's not. And the other thing too is you're not going to have access to the SD slot on the Ender 6 unless you just leave the bottom panel off the printer, which is fine. Just don't reach your hand under there by the AC socket while it's plugged in. But yeah, so like there's reasons behind why we will support a printer versus will not. And the main thing is this a drop-in experience? Is it take the old board out, put the new one in, and update the firmware? If so, yes, we get official support. If not, that's why we have the DIY firmware. So you can use our board if you have a printer that just needs 4 motors, your X, Y, Z, and E. You know, even if you have 2 Z motors, you can run 2 Z motors off our one driver. The board has plugs for that. You can use it on any printer. Like I'm using an EasyBoard V1 in my, I call it Big Bertha. It's an AlphaWise U10. And you can use it in there, and I'm using the DIY firmware that we put out for you guys. So I'm not like rolling my own custom thing. I'm literally using the same software and stuff that we put out for you guys. But I'm not seeing any more questions. If you guys got any more questions, ask them now. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap this up. I feel like I should have grabbed some maw before I started the stream. Oh, look at the other Tim's in the house. Maybe I'll just have the other Tim come on. You guys can just ask him questions. How's that? Let's see. Nadir, what wheels do you recommend changes to my Ender 6 V slot? I have noticed I've run the printer more than 100 to 150 millimeters per second. They start to wear fast and whine. And we used to carry these, and people complained because they were expensive. They were really damn good wheels. There's places that make polycarbonate wheels. I think Open Builds is a place to get them from. And you're going to pay probably $3 to $4 a wheel, but dear God, I had a set of those when we sold them. We had they were actually real polycarbonate. There's a lot of on AliExpress. If you go, you'll probably get fake ones. So buy them from somewhere like Open Builds. I think Open Builds is the they sold them at one point. I don't know if they still do, but after having those on my CR10 that I decommissioned for 3 years with heavy usage on it, they looked like brand new. So they do last longer. The problem is, and the reason we don't sell them anymore is people don't want to spend the money on them. So I don't want to spend our money on them because we basically clearanced them out below cost, and I'm not doing that again. So that's why we just carry the standard ones. So, and the standard ones work great. That's why we run on all our printers here. I don't think I have any polycarbonate wheel printers. They are harder. They do last longer. You know, but it costs more. You know, you get what you pay for. Not saying the stock V-slot wheels or the Delrin style ones are crap. They're just not as durable as polycarbonate. So 3D experience will be here with the last question. Because I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to wrap this up since it's kind of a slow day, and then come back around like 6, and then do the Ender 7. I'm just going to knock that out tonight because the only thing I really want to do tonight is organize some of my cables downstairs. But yeah, so I've got a bunch of stuff on my list, but yeah, I think maybe we'll do like a little hangout stream with the Ender 7 because I just need to get it done. So let's do that. So we'll come back around 6. Yeah, Krista, please schedule the stream. Well, I can schedule it because I'm going to put a custom photo, which I'm going to take. So yeah, let's do 6 p.m. And we'll come back, but I'm still going to give, since the puppy couldn't be quiet. I have the hiccups for some reason. He is in his crate, but Remo's a good boy, and he knows the stream's wrapping up because he's like watching me. He's like this. Are you tilting your head? Do we have head tilts? Do you want a treat? Do you want a treat? Yeah? Come here. Come here. Can we sit? Sit. Shake. Sit. Touch. Sit. Can we lay down? Ah, we're still working on it. Sit. Speak. Good boy. Well, he missed it. So anyways, yeah, I don't know what it is with this dog. He picked up all his other tricks and commands quicker, but like lay down, apparently just goes. Yeah, but I see Baloney asks a really quick question. And he's asking, is it worth taking out the springs and putting in blocks on M3S one? Yes, I use our solid bed mounts on ours, so absolutely worth it, because especially even that printer stock that comes with an auto bed leveling sensor, even if you keep the stock CR Touch on there, I would definitely still solid mount the bed. Like, getting rid of the springs is such a quality of life improvement, and it makes the printer so much more rigid. So anyways, I will be back later, and I'll see you guys at 6. We're going to be hanging out, probably have a couple beers, and work on the Ender 7. So the Ender 7, I'm going to be putting Easy ABL on there and putting on the Tiny Machines Z upgrade kit. So should be a pretty good stream. We'll be just hanging out, and yeah. So I will talk to you guys later. Thank you for stopping by. And we do these every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central Time. So I will see you guys on the next stream, whether that's tonight's one or the next Ask Tim. So thanks for watching, and as always, happy printing.